Shut up and sit down.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fight for Liberty show. Tonight we have a great guest back again. Nate Cole is joining us. So, Nate, welcome to the Fight for Liberty show. Welcome back.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. This is awesome.
Always a joy to have you on. So I know that you and I kind of got into a little bit of a debate yesterday on Facebook. So let's just kind of jump off from that.
Yeah.
Talking about the Economic Bill of Rights, which most people that are watching probably don't know. So do you want to just kind of like give a background of what the Economic Bill of Rights is before we talk about it?
Yeah. So basically, I consider myself a left-wing libertarian. So basically, the way left libertarians see it, we believe that economic liberty is just as important as individual liberty, because you can have all the liberty you want. You can have the ability to smoke weed, own a gun, whatnot. But that liberty isn't going to matter if you're starving and if you're going to a box on the street. So we advocate the idea that your rights should come not based on the labor you provide your boss or a CEO, but your rights should come by birth. Your humanity should be valued. So we want a system where everybody can prosper both economically and individually.
Okay. I mean, I definitely, I consider myself like a straight center libertarian. I'm a conservative at heart, but I'm kind of left on some things, and with the work that I've done with other left libertarians and then straight up Democrats, it's kind of warmed me up to some social issues. So I feel like at heart, I would definitely agree with everything that you just said. Especially I love how you put it. It's not gonna those liberties aren't gonna matter if you're starving and going to a box on the street.
Yeah, thank
Because
you.
that's 100%. I'm definitely I like to call myself a utopian. Because most of my policies, when I'm running for office, I'm trying to make the country or the city like the fucking best that it can be. We're trying
Absolutely.
to
Oh
you
yeah.
know get past all of this petty bullshit. I think the heart of libertarianism is not letting the government impede innovation, and like the world has got some great stuff that we could be using and doing, and we can make roads better than we've been making them. We can do
hmm
military better than we've been doing it. We can do school better than we've been doing it. We just proved that in the pandemic that like virtual schooling is a thing that could work. Like these
It
kids
totally.
don't need to be in the same fucking room for 9 hours a day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year. Like that's, or well, I guess they have summer, but people don't need
Well,
that kind of a lifestyle.
what I really like about you, David, is you are more of on the pragmatic side of things. And unfortunately, when I'm dealing with people on the internet, they tend to, instead of articulate why I'm wrong, they just decide to, name call and straw man. And it's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, like, I'm a libertarian, whether they like it or not. But I agree with you. Like 9 hours a day, that's not going to do nothing. And in Finland, they do 3 hours max, and they have no homework, and they have one of the best education systems in the world, which
Yeah,
is amazing.
because they realize that you don't just need to drill shit into people's heads 7 to 8 times and then make them take a multiple choice test on it.
Yeah, and it's all
You know,
free.
other
Um,
countries
the,
have changed their education system since the 1800s, and we're just like still grinding out the same dumb bullshit.
yeah, for real. I mean, we got the highest education in the U.S., but still, at the end of the day, it's very unaffordable. We have like $1 trillion in student loan debt right now, and the idea of privatizing everything. We're talking about privatizing from K all the way to potentially at least bachelor's degree. That's we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars that the average American can't afford. Like, and your whole thing on infrastructure, what you mentioned, we have a D+ rating in infrastructure right now. It wouldn't cost much to get that all up. Like in Buffalo alone, I mean, there was a point where we were famous for like uploading photos of the potholes in our roads and stuff. And I'm sure the free market can help as well as a few government provisions, but this is unacceptable. America deserves better. You got 8 out of 10 people living paycheck to paycheck, half of Americans making 30 grand or less, and this isn't fake capitalism. This is feudalism. This is wage slavery. We want to humanize capitalism. Us libertarians on the left.
Yeah, I think I had a good conversation a little while ago with another friend on the show about how what we have is not capitalism, and I think the problem with both the right and the left is that they both believe that we do. The right is saying,
Mm-hmm.
capitalism, yes, America, we're the best, we do it the best, fuck communism. And then the people on the left are like, oh, this system sucks, so capitalism must suck, because they don't understand the difference between capitalism and corporatism either. So
It's
they're
purism.
fighting. They're both fighting like the wrong people. What'd you
No,
say?
yeah, you're absolutely right. They are fighting the wrong people, but it's pure purism. Like nobody wants to have a middle ground. It's either capitalism or nothing, or socialism or communism or nothing. And it's like me, it's a mixture of both. We have to make socialism and capitalism so that they can complement each other and make each other's weaknesses their strengths. Like that's what we have to do, and that's what I see in
Yeah,
places like Scandinavia and places like France and Germany that have free college and free healthcare and take care of their people, and they're kicking our asses in
yeah.
almost
I
all
mean,
subjects.
a lot of those countries are doing better than us in almost everything. The one thing I want to circle back, because you mentioned the price of education. Um, so I believe that there is a good free market answer to that problem, and that is, well, first of all, we need to not allow, or we need to allow people to go to bankrupt on their student loans. First of all, like
Allow
that's
them
step
to.
one. Student loans shouldn't be. Yeah, because at the moment you can't go bankrupt because of your student loans. Like you can't declare bankruptcy and go through that process, which is how you're supposed to do.
Oh yeah, yeah,
If
yeah,
you
yeah,
can't pay
yeah,
back your
yeah.
loans, you go bankrupt. Like there's a legal
Yeah.
process for helping people out of that situation, and if it's student loans, you just get fucked up the ass. So,
Dude, Joe
uh,
Biden's
so
responsible
that
for
I
that
think
too.
is step one.
Yeah, no,
Mhm.
you're. I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad we agree on that. Joe Biden is responsible for that too.
Yeah.
He's the reason that's a thing. $1 trillion in student loan debt.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we still got too many people that just are barely making it by. So that's disgusting. We need to
Yeah.
fund K through. We
Yeah.
need to fund at least K through bachelor's degree, and we should also fund trade school as well because we need trade jobs in this country as well.
What I would argue for if I was running for something would be tax breaks for corporations that, or I would encourage a system where corporations would pay for people's college in exchange for a promise to work at that corporation for X amount of
Mm,
years,
I'd
and
love that.
then and then give tax relief to the corporations that were spending their money on that. Because then we're also talking about less taxes, which is good on a libertarian standpoint.
No,
Anyway,
would love that.
so I think that I would rather that than like the government be paying for it and it being out of tax dollars, because that it's still by merit, but it's better. More people get to go to school, but it's still by merit. If you're a shit person with shit grades and you're going to be a shit student and you're not even going to care about college and you're just going to be a fry cook at Wendy's anyway, like my tax dollars shouldn't pay for 4 years of your school. And that I think is where a lot of people on the right have a problem with it. Because if you think about like junior year of high school, like how many people actually gave a shit about junior year of high school? Like 0 people, right? Like nobody cared about high school. We all fucking bullshitted our way through. People were sleeping through class. Like nobody cared. And why? Because we had no investment in there. That year didn't matter. We weren't studying for entrance exams to college yet, but we had already kind of learned everything. It was almost a review year, and there was no financial investment there. There was nothing. There was no reason for us to care. And then you get to college, and when I was in school, my friends and I did the math as to like how much we paid per class, and it was like some like $340 something per like hour lecture, like class. So if you like slept through class, it's the same as just throwing $350 out the window. So like you went to class, like we did that math early on, and we're like, okay, yeah, we got to go to class. And so I think having some kind of an investment, whether it's your own money or like a career that you'll have if you get these grades and you can keep the scholarship, kind of a situation, I think it'll enforce better students. Otherwise, I think college will just be like high school is, where nobody will really care because they don't have a reason to.
Yeah, well, I don't want to nationalize
the fuck was
that? I saw that too. Is that a black or do you just roll?
This is a joint I just rolled.
Oh, yeah. You see, I do the raws, so because I know how to roll, but usually I do the raws because I'm lazy as hell.
I feel that.
Yeah, there you go. See, I knew I liked you. But to your point,
I get the ones with like the filters that come in the thing, like already pre-rolled, like the filters like already nice in there, so you just put it in the joint and then roll it up. It's great. I love them.
Yeah,
but sorry, back to serious conversation.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Yeah, I do the 1/4, not the king sizes, only because sometimes I don't know my own limit. But anyways, yeah, to your point, I I agree. We're gonna have people that abuse the system. We're always gonna have, no matter what, there's always gonna be a con to whatever solution. I agree with you. Those people are gonna go to college. They're gonna realize that they don't want to go to college, and then they're gonna either go to trade school or do something else, and that's totally fine. But the best part about this, the really good part about this, is that it would cost no less than $60 billion annually, and all the things that we're talking about funding, universal daycare, universal health care, free college and trade school, family paid maternal leave, and living wage, stuff like that. This is all affordable, and it's just a matter of reallocating the funds and cutting spending. And we're going to be cutting spending in places that we need to cut spending, like the military. We're talking about cutting 65% of the military budget. A lot of it's going to come from the military. But we also have things like the land value tax that would give us $11 trillion worth of tax revenue, which last year in tax revenue, we only got like 3.3 trillion. So this is very affordable. It's just a matter of the powers to be.
So I'm gonna debate here a little bit, because every time the government says something's affordable and they start paying for it, it gets unaffordable. every time that you have a situation where you have a guaranteed government check coming, the quality goes down and the price goes up always. Um, I love using the example of there's a coffee mug that the Air Force uses that's made specifically to like plug in to a plug that only exists in like the specific jets that they fly. So, there's one company that's contracted out by the Defense Department to make these mugs. Uh, and when they first came out, like 6 years ago, they were like $65.
Mhm.
Now they're 1,100. When Trump took office, they were 600. Now they're 1,100. And the handles break off extremely easily. It's been a problem since they started buying the product. Handles break off really easily. So a bunch of the people got together and they were like, all right, we're going to figure out how to 3D print these handles so we can fix them. And then they got told they couldn't do that because they had to just buy a whole new $1,100 coffee mug with our tax dollars. So like when you see systems like that exist, I don't imagine the possibility of a world where that kind of behavior doesn't seep into a universal education or a universal healthcare or a universal daycare system.
Yeah, well, I don't agree with the whole mug situation. Um, like I said, there's always going to be cons to these things, but we have a lot of examples that prove that this can be successful. You got Scandinavia. France was rated #1 in healthcare, and they fund over 70% of their people's healthcare. And then Italy too does the same thing, and they were rated #2. So this type of stuff, we see it work in the world, and it's some of the best systems in the world. Education, I think we can have a free market based approach to free college. It's basically what we would do with healthcare. You give people a card, and they can go to whatever university or college they get accepted into. They could pay for it just like that. They would still have to find a way to pay for dorms and stuff like that. That's where the free market and stuff would come in, as far as the dorms and all that good stuff. But it's affordable. It would be good quality, and I want to abolish the Department of Education and bring all that back to the states and the local governments, because I think they know best at what their local colleges and universities can do with that money. So I think it's doable, and
I
I think we can
100%
afford
agree
it.
with you there. Yeah.
Awesome.
I will come back to one thing because it's relevant. You said Italy, and basically the stereotypical libertarian argument to universal healthcare got a blatant like example out of Italy through this coronavirus. Their hospitals got too full, and they just started turning away people that were over a specific age. Like, nah, fuck you, you're gonna die anyway. Like, that's what happened. Like that actually happened in Italy. So, I mean, they were turning away patients. They were like, nope, sorry, we're only gonna serve these patients in this age group and without pre-existing conditions and this and that because they have a better chance of survival.
Because of the pandemic.
And that, yeah, yeah. This was back in like March, April time period, like when it was at its worst.
Oh wow.
When New York City was fucking dying also. We weren't much better in the US at the exact same time, but it was people. I feel like you have one of two options. You either have people that can't get the help they need because they don't have the money, or you have people that can't get the help they need because the government says so. And one situation is at least somewhat controllable by the person, the other one isn't, and that's why I'm always going to be more of a free market guy.
Yeah, like I said, universal healthcare and K through bachelor's funding with trade school, that's going to be free market based. We're not going to socialize or nationalize the industry. And the reason why universal healthcare would save us trillions of dollars is because it would be free market based. We would basically have a French system. So, I mean, I think it was 5 trillion we could save to the latest study we have. And then Yale said we would save $580 billion annually and save 68,000 lives a year, which, according to a Harvard study, 45,000 people die a year from a lack of healthcare coverage. So there are just some certain things that certain companies and industries just shouldn't profit off of, and I think that's death. So, private prisons, just fully privatize healthcare. I think that's just something that we shouldn't be able to profit off of because too many people get hurt and too many people die. Like 135 million people are struggling with medical debt right now.
Yeah. As someone who has worked in the profit side of the healthcare industry to a point, I used to sell insurance. I can agree with you. I think that that's why, I mean, like the stereotypical libertarian answer is like charity, right? So it's still
Yeah.
nonprofit. And like you have things like insurance cooperatives, which is a great kind of anarcho-capitalist answer to the healthcare issue. I'm personally like of the laid out, like well thought out, like healthcare plans that I could read and pick from, I would pick Tulsi Gabbard's. Hers is probably the most free market based universal healthcare plan I've ever read. And there's things in it that I don't like, but they're things that I think I'm willing to handle because I do think her healthcare plan would be better than what we have now.
Do you know what
I think
actual
most
system?
things would be better than what we have now.
You know what system she's copying
Say that
from?
again.
Like, you know what country she's copying her plan from?
It's kind of a mix. She's not a copy paste kind of a person. She's annoying like that, which makes her take a long time to do things that other people do quickly, because she like has to tweak it and make it her own. So she called it's if you want to look it up, it would be a single payer plus is what she always called it. And it was basically Medicare for all ish, but without any of the fucking with the free market of it. It was anybody can have it at no matter how much you make, and it covers everything, like from a cold to cancer, but or well, not it covers everything from a cold to cancer, because even Medicare for all doesn't cover everything from a cold to cancer. And that was kind of her thought process, was that rather than having the free market compete with the private or with the public market, it would be kind of an addition to. That's why she called it single payer plus, because her thought process was if her plan was implemented, the free market would change, because a good quality free healthcare would change the insurance industry. Who wouldn't take advantage of a free thing? Like who's paying $200 a month for something that they could get for free? Like that's stupid. So, but obviously it wouldn't cover everything, and it might not cover all doctors, and there are things that that Medicare for all is always going to fall short on, and that's where the private insurance companies would kind of come in. Or if you have like a really, really good plan with your company that is affordable for you and is better than what the government is offering, then stick with that. But if you have like this Medicare but you have something else wrong with you, or dental or whatever else you want to tack onto that, that's where the private insurance comes in.
Yeah, you could buy more. You could buy more healthcare if you really needed it, and that's where capitalism would come in. It would give us innovation. It would give us competition, thus lowering the prices and giving us much better quality, which is great. So yeah, we need a free market healthcare system. We just need it. You hear about things like the NHS where you got people in hallways on stretchers and stuff. So I think honestly, like why not? I mean, it works. It works in all the other capitalist countries that have it. So why not?
Mhm. Yeah, and like I feel like if I was a little bit better off financially, which not to like throw stones, but I feel like a lot of the libertarians that I know have always been kind of like at least middle class or upper middle class. I was growing up, but like my adult life has been not great. So I know firsthand what it's
Here,
like
here.
to need to go to the doctor and not be able to afford it
It's
on like
horrible,
a
man.
regular basis. There have been a lot of things that I have had to just, smoke a bunch of weed and try to get over that I should have gone to the doctor for, you
Here,
know.
here.
So and like now I'm on Medicaid or Medicare or whatever it is, but I've yet to like figure out how to use it and I haven't got my card yet and it's a shit system. So like I'm all for like a system that would help people like me that is better than what we have, as long as you don't touch the private market. Because it there's a lot wrong with how everything works in that industry. I mean,
Absolutely.
insurance companies make way too much money, and for way too long the blame has been put on doctors. Like our parents' generation complained about like the doctors are always rich. Like that's a stereotype. Like marry a doctor, they're rich. They're not. They get
No,
paid
they're
a
really
lot, but they're not.
not.
They get paid it more than most people, but they also don't get out of their student loan debt until they're like mid 50s usually.
Dude, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of
Like on
dollars.
average.
Like think about it, David. If you join the military, they teach you how to kill people for free. But if you want to go into the healthcare business to save lives, you have to spend over 100 to hundreds of thousands of dollars just to have that opportunity. What type of world is that?
Yeah.
What type of system is that? That's cronyism. That's just corporatism and just feudalism and just all the nasty things that come when you don't have referees or regulations within capitalism. Like I am a capitalist. Like for the most part, the free market can provide, but when the free market fails, the government has to step in, and that's where I fall out of line with your standard Libertarian Party member. They don't really believe in market failures, or they just blame the government for everything, which isn't true. Like I have some people blaming monopolies on the government, which is like, okay, like 50% is their fault, but at the end of the day, the corporations were the ones that were
Some of
benefiting
them
from
are.
it.
Yeah, I mean, like government enforced monopolies, like cable monopolies or like energy supplier monopolies. Those are definitely the government's fault. Other monopolies like Google are not.
It's the government and the corporation's fault because, I mean, what was it?
I
Big
mean,
Pharma
no, because like the government specifically picked, like I mean, New York City is a great example because Con Ed fucks over the people of New York City on a regular basis. But the one and only reason they are allowed to do that is because the city decided, like they created the monopoly before Con Ed was the monopoly. They decided that they were going to make a monopoly intentionally and then picked Con Ed to be that person like 40 some odd years ago. And Con Ed has supplied power to like 3 of the 5 boroughs of New York City, like all of it since. And you don't have an option, you don't have anywhere else that you can get it from. So if they want to like threaten to just shut down power to New York City, they should do that because the government gave them that power. And that's entirely the government's fault. They should never have given that much power. You know, yeah, the corporation,
government,
like Con Ed is are assholes, but it's not their fault that they have that much power and they're using it to the best of their ability. Government should never have given them that power.
like I said, it's both of their faults, and majority of Congress takes lobbying money, which is the huge problem. Is money in politics. Like, why aren't we publicly funding elections? Why aren't we giving candidates? Why aren't we giving not only the 2 major parties but third parties? Why aren't we giving them all money so that they can have time on TV to advertise themselves, or that they can be in the debates or what have you. Like, I honestly believe that if we publicly funded elections, and I also agree with giving every citizen at least $100 so they can donate to whatever campaign they want, because the average American doesn't have a voice because money is power, and a lot of Americans don't have money right now. So we need a system where money is not in politics, where we don't have corporations having the ability to lobby Congress and pay zero in taxes, while some poor people are paying more taxes than corporations. That's disgusting, and that's all due to the lobbying and due to all the cronyism that's going on. So we need money out of politics, and we need to check our government.
I mean, I agree with getting money out of politics. I wasn't expecting to be in such a contrarian mood for this show, but I have to disagree with you on the publicly funded elections. Because I was expecting this to be like us like agreeing on a bunch of stuff, but we've picked like a lot of the topics that I guess we disagree on. Because like I'm not a big fan of publicly funded elections, because I mean I see that as wasted tax dollars. I think we need to get money out of politics completely. And I think that it needs to not be who gets the most ad time on YouTube is who wins. Like that shouldn't matter. And we need to drastically change the way that we do elections to where that doesn't matter. That the amount of money that you raise shouldn't matter. It should matter what you're saying. Have everyone in the debates, have the debates be real debates and not popularity contests, and that be it. Just watch the debates. Just watch these people have some debates and some town halls, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah.
That would be my preferred system. So we're also not wasting tax dollars at the same time.
Oh, well, I agree. Everybody should be in the debates. And I even agree with having two people from different parties go at it on different nights rather than just having 3 nights where all of them are debating together, because that's going to take a lot of time. We have a lot of parties in this country. But no. Right now, the average American does not have a voice. And right now, Congress is being controlled by the corporations instead of the American people, which is a very huge disinterest in the American people, because now policy is not being based on what the people want; it's being based on what the corporations want. So we need to get money out of politics.
Totally in agreement there.
And corporate welfare and tax loopholes, absolutely. We spend $100 billion in corporate welfare right now. That's not capitalism.
No, it's not. I'm not going to disagree with the goddamn thing you said there, because that was right on the spot. Most of our politicians are bought out by somebody or something. I work with PACs and political corporations on a regular basis. I know the people that are buying out these politicians. Because it's the same process, whether it's for good or whether or not we're talking about like Young Americans for Liberty, who is a PAC that will put money YAL isn't a PAC. Make Liberty Win is the PAC that they associate with. They will put money into your campaign, whether it's actual money or advertising or door knockers like myself, in exchange for you voting Liberty. Like, that's still buying out politicians just for good.
Mm-hmm.
It's still the same fucking process, whether you're bought out by like some green initiative group, or if you're bought out by some liberty movement group or some Second Amendment rights group or a pro-life group or a pro-choice group. You're still probably bought out by somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you have to be bought out in order to run these campaigns. You just have to. I mean, the average, I think, to run for a local office is at least 10 grand just to run for the average, at least. So you have to have money to run, and that we should have every day working the average American in the House of Congress, in the House of the Senate, in the House of the Representatives. Like we shouldn't have these millionaires and billionaires representing us. Like these people aren't average Americans. Nancy Pelosi is not an average American.
Yeah.
Okay. Joe Biden is not an average American. These are elitists. And they
Yeah.
don't speak for us, they speak for the banks and the corporations.
Mhm. I definitely think that there's there's a good reason for that though. Not that I'm saying that it's a good thing, but there's a good reason for it.
Mhm.
Your average American doesn't want to run for office.
They can't.
Like you or I might be okay with the idea of running for office, but like your average American doesn't want to. The people that want to run for office are the people that grow up wanting to run for office, and those people go and get law degrees and do other things and prepare their entire lives to to run for office and try to enter the world of politics as soon as they possibly can. Uh, Other people have other dreams and they go do other things and become average Americans, which it's classist, but I don't think that there's ever going to be a system where the people in Washington are not above the average American in a lot of like socioeconomic ways, because that's why would you vote for somebody that's life is just as fucked up as you? Like clearly, like I wouldn't vote for me half the time. Have you seen my life? Like you know shit about me. Like you know what I've been through and the decisions that I've made in my life. Like do you want me to running the country? Like
I would love
maybe
for you to run
someday.
for I would love for you to run.
I mean, maybe someday.
I would be your liberal VP, and we would always argue on economics, and it would be amazing for the cabinet to watch. That's the future I see with us.
That's the kind of dude, not gonna lie, no, not even trying to be like conceited or prideful, but like a ticket like us is the kind of ticket that would actually like possibly win. Like, and I mean
it
Joe
would
and
win.
Spiker Joe the Jorgensen Cohen is similar, I think. But they argue about other things which are stupid. Um and like
Yeah, I know. They're both ideologues,
yeah.
unfortunately. And
Yeah, the
I
libertarian
agree with.
socialists like Spike, but the socialists don't.
Yeah, yeah, no. Right now, I mean, Spike himself. I mean, I don't know. Not the general public isn't going to vote for an anarchist. I mean, they're going to know he's an ANCAP and they're going to be sketched out. But Jorgensen, I agree with her on probably at least 75, if not 80% on the issues. But the problem I really see with her economics is it's just very ideologue and, it's things that the average American doesn't want. Like the average American does not want to, I mean, we should lower the corporate tax rate, but I mean, the average American doesn't want that. The average American doesn't want to abolish minimum wage laws. Like, I mean, I'm glad she wants to lower the cost of healthcare and stuff, but that's not going to be enough. We need to have safety nets, and we need to make sure that people have adequate healthcare and that they're not dying from it. So, I agree with her totally on the individual aspect of things. Ending the wars, legalizing all drugs, ending NSA spying, ending torture, things like that. But on the economic level, I think she's kind of dangerous. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, I'm not an anarchist. I'm not an ANCAP. I'm a classical liberal. Is what I identify as usually. Um, so which I mean, I think is I'm a Gary Johnson libertarian, right? That's a lot of people call themselves Ron Paul libertarians or Ron Paul Republicans, but
You're
I'm a Gary Johnson libertarian. I am, except I'm a little bit more liberal than him because like he pussied out when he was asked if he would legalize all drugs. I would never pussy out on that. I am
you can't
legalize
on that.
heroin and recreational rocket launchers. So
Well, yeah,
I'm a little
exactly.
bit more
Yeah, no,
extreme than him.
I agree. Yeah, I definitely don't agree with you on
But
that. I think
but
he was
so
pragmatic though. I think he was very pragmatic. Like one of the most embarrassing videos
oh
of
yeah.
our party is us arguing about driver's licenses, and then Gary Johnson making a really good point, like, "Hey, maybe blind people shouldn't be able to drive, and then everybody's just booing him. Like, is that really the type of look we want to the general public, where we just sound like crazy ass anarchists? Like, he made a good point. Blind people shouldn't be driving, so why the hell are you booing him? That's where I fall out a lot. Like, we need some type of regulations.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would agree with you. I don't know about driver's licensing. That's an intricate discussion that I've had a couple of times. I think maybe it could be like an innocent until proven guilty kind of a situation. So like people who are blind can't drive because they're legally blind, but maybe you don't have to take, as long as you don't do one of these things that makes you not be able to drive, like being blind or like getting into a bunch of accidents or like being having like seizures or something like that. So yeah, maybe you should be driving, but anybody else, maybe you don't need a license.
Well, how are we going to know who's blind and who has seizures if we don't at least check to see if you have the competency to drive? Like, I agree, we should deregulate the rules a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I don't think you should have to sit through an hour of a drunk driving video. I think that's silly. I think either drunk driving is bad or you don't know. But
or pay money.
Yeah.
Like, you definitely shouldn't have to pay money to be able to drive. That's the most bullshit thing that the government does.
Yeah. I would have. Yeah, I don't remember exactly the regulations for. I know in my state it's kind of silly. Like, you need to take the 5-hour course. I don't know if we should get rid of that completely, but I don't know if we should have to pay for it. But I don't know. But for the most part, all of it, majority of it would be gone. But we should at least have the competency test so that blind people and people with seizures aren't driving.
All right, so I have like a super ANCAP like hypothetical that I just thought of, like a solution to this whole thing on like a super ANCAP level. So we have like still a national ID, right? Because I don't think the world would function without some kind of an identification system.
Oh
right?
Yeah.
So if you have one of those things that we mentioned, it gets put onto your ID, like this person can't drive. If you go and take like the tests and the 5-hour course and whatever, that gets put on your license. You're a special driver. If you don't do that, you can still drive legally as long as you don't like fuck up. If you commit crimes, then you get put on that bad list. But because we privatized the road,
I love this.
the private the right to say you can only drive on this road if you took that test and took that course, so that you can drive on roads specifically that only good drivers drive on.
I don't know.
I don't actually like believe in any of this. I'm just saying that's a great solution if we get rid of the government.
It's a great solution, but what if you want to go to a doctor's appointment and there's only one specific road and you can't go because you didn't take the 5-hour course? What about
then you should have fucking well, but you have the same situation now. Right? Like right now, if you have to go to the doctor's office and you didn't take the 5-hour course, you're still fucked. Like,
no
matter what roads it is. So
you're gonna be taking roads away. Like, wait, so basically, hey, fuck your heart surgery. I don't care if this one road only leads to that hospital.
No. But hear me out. In the system that we have right now, if you didn't take that 5-hour course and pass that test and you need that heart surgery, you're still fucked. You still can't drive because you don't have a driver's license because you didn't do that. So in either scenario, you're screwed if you live your life the same way. So like it would encourage people to still take those tests and get that extra license, but we shouldn't be like locking people up because they didn't go do that thing.
No, I think I'm not disagreeing with you at all. Like, I think like 90% of these regulations should at least be gone. It's just Yeah, honestly, yeah. Like, I just want a competency test. I guess that's where
Yeah.
I just draw the line of just completely not having any rules. I want a competency test to make sure that you know the basics. And I'm not against making the laws more harsher if you like hurt somebody or commit a crime.
Hmm.
Like, I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of conversations where the straight libertarian answer actually doesn't quite work. I was talking with my friend Reed a little bit ago about like the commercial driver's license. Because a stereotypical libertarian believes that occupational licensing shouldn't exist, and a CDL is technically occupational licensing. So should we have
No,
that? What?
this should this shouldn't exist. I think that's bullshit. I think we should have completely fair and free competition. No special licensing or
Right.
those occupational licenses of needs. I think for healthcare, where you have to prove your hospital is worth being built or something like that, something stupid. And it's like, no, if I have the money, if I have the resources, let me start a business. Isn't this capitalism?
Right. Right.
Like, you got places in Scandinavia where they give safety nets to people who want to try and risk it all. Here in the United States, you risk it all and you lose it all.
Right.
Well, no, you get a second chance at life. That's for sure.
Right. Right. Like I'm normally like, and in fact I actually campaigned on it heavily when I was running for city council, was against occupational licensing. Because at the time, a thing that was going on in the city, there was like 3 different churro ladies that got arrested in like the same week for selling churros in the subway. And like everybody's like, what the fuck kind of system do we live in? So I was out campaigning and I was like, you realize why that's illegal? And everybody's like no, that shouldn't be illegal. And I was like, but do you know what makes it illegal? And they're like, no. And I was like, it's because they weren't licensed. You need to pay the government to be able to sell a churro on the subway. They're like, really? And I was like, yeah. You also need to pay the government to be able to sell halal on the sidewalk. They're like, really? And I was like, yeah. You have to pay the government to be able to do almost any job that you could imagine, whether that's a hairstylist or a truck driver or tax preparation or tax preparer. And I was able to like campaign heavily on that. But then you get into that other topic of like commercial driver's license. That's an occupational license. Should that one exist? Because that one's putting other people's lives in danger.
Just honestly, just a competency test. I don't know why I can't see that word tonight. But no,
I mean,
I
I
agree.
think
Like,
that the CDL works the best out of like almost any type of occupational license, because it really is like in most states. There's a couple of states that are fucking up. Utah just fucked up. New Hampshire just fucked up too. Um, but
what did they?
most states don't make you do any kind of schooling. So New Hampshire just passed a law that you would have to like go to a school and get X amount of like hours of schooling, kind of like the like a cosmetology degree. You need 900 hours and pass 2 tests and then a final test to get your cosmetology license. They're trying to do a similar thing for truck drivers. But in most states, including New York, I believe at the moment, you just have to go take the test, right? It's kind of like a driver's license. You just go take the test, prove you can do it, and you move on with your life. And I think that's how most occupational licenses that maybe should exist. Like maybe doctors should have to prove that they can do their
God,
shit before they cut into people,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
maybe they have to go to school. Like
But if you
we
but if
can't
you
just
want
be complete anarchists on this one.
but if you want to do hair, if you want to do if you want to be a barber, hairstylist, sell fucking ice cream, whatever, yeah, you don't need an occupation. You don't need to prove that you can do that. The free market
Right.
the free market will decide if you can do that or not. Because if you're a shit person at doing hair and you're being recommended on Facebook, if you're advertising on Facebook, it's not going to take long for people to be like, yeah, this woman does not know what she's doing. Do not go to her. So yeah, I think that's
Right.
where the free market can step in. Like we should be the land of opportunity, and
Right.
capitalism can do what it does best in this situation. We need very little, like you said, there are certain things you need to prove. Like people should be able to prove that they can be a doctor, or they can be a security guard or police officer, teacher. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think that Yelp could replace most occupational licenses.
Yelp, and I also think maybe we should yeah, and I also think we should have like a little bit more options as far as reviewing goes. But we should have more general reviews so that we could have more people vote in on it. But that's a free market thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think me and you agree on that heavily.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've got like Yelp, we've got like just Google itself, like Apple Maps links to Yelp directly, so it'll give you a rating. I think we've got the free market expanded to kind of fix a lot of those issues by itself already, to where I feel like, I mean, especially in the cancel culture that we live in right now, like no leftist can look at their own like what they like their own friend group and not believe that just social media itself could replace half of the occupational licenses, because they would fucking destroy anyone that fucked up, because they do that
Oh my
already.
God. Yeah, no, I
I mean,
agree. Like
look at
we
fucking
should.
Kevin Hart. Like he kind of sort of fucked up like a 10 years ago, and they fucking ruined
Yeah,
him.
yeah, and he was so pissed off that he didn't even say sorry. He was like, you know what, just find somebody else. But we've seen so many videos where it's like you see somebody being racist or bigoted, and social media blows up. Like I think you should be able to deny people service for any reason, but I also think you should have to put up a sign. Because, for instance, what if it's like Sunday and you're at like the Old Country Buffet and it's a long ass line? So you just waited for 45 minutes. Then you finally get to the register. After 45 minutes, they're like, oh, sorry, we don't sell to black people. What? I just waited 45 minutes. So yeah, we should put like a sign, or like, go ahead. If you want to be a racist or whatever, you have to put up a sign at least.
Yeah. And some fucking racist white people would go to that Old Country Buffet all the goddamn time, so they didn't have to see any black people. But I mean,
You,
if you're one of those people and you're watching this episode, just like move to Ohio and problem solved. Like you're fine.
we would be able to weed out the racists. All the government does is when you make them mandate to like give people their consumptions, all you do is just mask the idiots and the racists. So now you have a racist smiling in your face, being like, have a good day. And the minute you walk out of that store, they're like, oh man, I can't believe I had to touch that nigger's hand. It's like, it's bullshit. Like, I don't want to deal with that.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that I agree. I agree. I think I like to tell people and a lot of people disagree with the way that I word this, but I keep saying it anyway. I like to say that the government's responsibility in business is to ensure transparency and fairness.
That's
Uh you
that's
know,
such a radical idea.
right, and literally nothing else, right? So occupational licensing, fuck that. Like FDA, fuck that. um like
Yeah.
can
Well,
all of that bullshit, but you require like this shit on the back, like ingredients and warning labels. Like you have to be honest with your customers about what the product that they're using is. If they are eating poison, you have to say, warning, this contains poison. And
yeah,
I
no,
think
that's
that the
what the
government
government is.
existing for just that, because it's not that you don't have to go through a year of an FDA whatever to make sure that what you're putting on the label is what's actually in the thing. Like you could pretty easy just like send people to Walmart and make sure that all the products have warning labels on them, or like nutritional facts. It's not that
Yeah,
difficult to make sure that people are abiding by those kinds of rules. And if they're selling on a private market without those labels and people are buying it and they're not reporting it, then and they're consensually doing that, then go for it. I don't fucking care. I buy weed not knowing what it is, right? Like, so
I agree with you on that. Businesses and corporations, they should have to be at least we should know exactly what's in their products and their consumption.
right.
But yeah, as far as anything, yeah, like if you're not a business owner, if you're just selling cookies out of your house or whatever, that's up to the people. You know,
Yeah.
if
I
people,
think
if that's consensual, it's consensual. So why not?
yeah. I think like I think how I think that the government should exist in this scenario is like, okay, um you're selling cookies out of your house. Like so we're talking like how the government could handle like a worst case scenario, right? You're selling cookies out of your house, or you buy cookies from somebody that is just selling them out of their house, and you get sick. So you ask them for the recipe, and they say no. Then you can get the government involved. Like that's when I think the government should get involved. And at no point up until then should the government get involved. But if you're like, I've been wronged and I've asked for, or even if you didn't get sick, but if you like bought cookies and you're like, okay, I want to know what's in this, and they say, no, 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 we're not going to tell you, then the government can be like, no, you have to tell them what you're selling them. But they don't have to be at the beginning of the process saying, okay, yep, this is what you're selling them. That sticker is true. Good job, guys. Because fuck
Yeah,
the FDA, like all the way. Like just get
I
rid
think
of
the
them
FDA,
now.
I think the FDA needs to be reformed, no doubt. But as far as businesses and corporations, these people are constantly selling us products, constantly selling us things like food and all the things that we use every day. So those people, we should reform the FDA, but should we get rid of it? Not entirely, because then you're going to have people selling, botched products, things that just aren't healthy for the American people.
I mean, I would argue that they're already selling botched products that aren't healthy to the American people. Have you ever gone to a grocery store or to a McDonald's? Like,
Yeah, but you still know. At least you still know what's in there. You know, I'm not saying
yeah,
it's gonna be a everyday thing where we have somebody doing that, but at the end of the
yeah,
day, there's still going to be somebody doing that. If we didn't regulate if we didn't regulate like the car industry, like we had a situation like in the '70s where there was a car company that was selling cheap parts, and as a result, people were dying because of it because there was no regulation. So how many people have to die until Yelp gives you a number one star? So I don't believe that. Yeah, I think the FDA needs reform, but we need regulation in that sense. And I also agree with OSHA and OPRA. Like we should have a working, safe environment for our workers.
I think that there could be maybe a reformed version of OSHA that I agreed with. It's fucking annoying as shit, but I agree
It
with
is,
the base concept of like, uh, people should be you have the right to safe work environment. I think
yeah, you
you
do have the right to safe work because if you don't, you have your finger chopped off in a factory or something, and it's like then
yeah
they're not incentivized to help you in any way whatsoever. They'll probably just replace you. So yeah,
yeah.
that's
And,
definitely
and I think like the anarchist answer to that question would be like, uh if it's unsafe, people wouldn't work there, but that's
that's true.
bullshit. That's
Yeah,
just bullshit.
that's bullshit. People don't want to work at McDonald's, but
I've
they have
worked
to.
in numbers of unsafe work environments in my lifetime, so people would do it. Like
It's
people
just
still
not
do
fair.
it.
It's the least they can do. I mean, come on, you're making a lot of money off of these people. That's the least you can do is just make sure they're safe, making you money, putting food on your table. So
Yeah. I would also argue like possibly a like number limit to some of these regulations, like maybe you don't have to have like OSHA and the FDA and whatever don't bother you if you have under 30 or 50 employees or something like that, or if you're like, or the FDA doesn't fuck with you unless you're producing X amount of product, uh like a complete like free fly ticket for everybody under that threshold. So Because the problem with any kind of regulation is that inevitably it will always hurt the smallest of businesses the most. That's just the history of regulation. So, the FDA existing even for good is going to hurt the mom and pop shops and the people selling cookies out of their home more than anyone else, just consistently.
I think certain regulations, yeah, definitely will. But businesses and corporations, small businesses, they definitely have to be regulated, and we should definitely have to know what's in their consumption and their products. Only because they're doing this every day, and we just got to make sure everybody's safe. We just have to. Because then if you have like a corner store or something that doesn't make enough money, I've been to a corner store like even now, like where it's regulated, like I mean, that one time I went to a corner store and I ate something and I got like food poisoning and it was disgusting. They had like a bunch of expired milk one time too. So, yeah, those stuff like that needs to be regulated, but deregulation, I would deregulate a lot of things, but not that.
Yeah, not that. All right. I mean, I'll agree to disagree a little bit on this one. I definitely think I'm more of an anarchist than you are, which is weird because I don't have many libertarian friends that are more pro regulation than me because I'm actually like okay with pieces of regulation that most libertarians aren't. Um,
Yeah, no, I mean, um, I don't know. If I'm going to argue for a libertarian perspective, I just believe that there's some freedoms that don't trump other people's freedoms. Like, sure, if you want to make money, by all means, make money. But I want to make sure you're, you know, doing right by the people who are paying your bills. I want to make sure that you're not poisoning them or, you know, so,
right.
there's just some freedoms that trump other freedoms. And I think
Yeah.
that's one of them.
Yeah, the only point the last point I'll make because it's kind of my favorite argument on the like abolish the FDA routine is I like to talk about kosher food because there is no government regulation on kosher food. There are a couple of private organizations that test hundreds of thousands of companies worth of food and make sure that they're kosher and put a little stamp. There's a couple different companies that do it and they kind of compete with each other and and hundred like millions of Jews around the world eat kosher food from a regular grocery store with these stamps on it and trust it. So I believe that there would be a very swift and competent private alternative that would replace the FDA almost overnight. Similar to that. And
Uh,
if it didn't have a stamp from the National Food Testing Organization, you wouldn't eat it, right? Like if you walked into Walmart and there were two boxes of cereal next to each other, one had the stamp, one didn't. They're the
hey,
same
I
price.
don't. If we can do it like that, that'd be great. As long if it's a verified place that regulated your stuff, I don't care. I wouldn't mind it at all. But there has to be
Yeah,
at least some. At least, I
yeah,
mean, like I said, I don't agree with the FDA. I think there's a lot of problems with it. But we need to have
hmm
some form of regulation for at least consumption and make sure the workplace is safe. Those are the
yeah,
regulations. Everything else, the free market can decide.
yeah. I think I definitely think that like there's private versions of those things that would work. And I'm not a full-blown anarchist. I'm not somebody that, I don't believe in privatizing the roads. Like first of all, I don't believe in privatizing the police, but I definitely think that privatizing the FDA would be a phenomenal thing and work wonderfully. Uh and I think that we could almost do it. I think that we could incentivize and start to create these companies that could replace the FDA to kind of work alongside the FDA currently. And with the kind of like government handouts that we already give corporations, we can kind of inflate this industry a little bit and then abolish the FDA, right? Like after these organizations are already established, people trust them, they have a market that they have contracts with Walmart and Costco and whatever, like then the FDA can be like, all right, peace out, we're good.
Yeah, no, you definitely make a good point for that. I mean, like I said, I don't care as long as it's verified. I really
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah.
'Cause that,
In a world where we have a libertarian majority in both houses of Congress and a libertarian president, then we could do this. But until then, it's all bullshit. But when we get that, and I'm president, and we have like, this is like a bipartisan or tripartisan thing, or quad partisan. Maybe the Green Party is something by now.
when we have a Fite Coal administration tackling the Federal Reserve, tackling the
Yes.
military industrial complex, fucking prosecuting every single president that's alive right the fuck now.
Yeah.
When you got 12-year-olds getting fentanyl. No, I'm kidding.
Yo, I'm fucking loving that fire. Dude, there is no chance that I don't clip that and use that as an ad.
For the LP.org, they would hate us.
Right. Prosecute every living president right now.
Bro,
Yes.
we would get assassinated. That's
Fuck
why we
it.
that's
Hashtag worth it, dude. I will gladly die for that.
Dude, I would replace my Secret Service with my own private armed security. Like, that's how paranoid I would be if I was the president.
In a heartbeat.
Dude, in a heartbeat.
Fuck
they
the
would be
Secret Service.
trained. Dude, fuck the Secret Service. They're traitors.
Maybe we shouldn't be saying that on YouTube.
Listen,
prosecuting the president, that's fine, but like maybe we don't actually call out Secret Service. They're kind of known to like, show up at people's houses and threaten them at gunpoint for saying mean things on the internet. So
if I commit suicide in a month or two, just
right,
just know what happened, David. And you're laughing now, but it's going to be a reality in 2 months. But
I don't know if it says something about the people that I associate with or just the conversations that I bring out on my show. But the amount of people that have had to give a disclaimer of like, I'm not suicidal on my show is fucking hilarious.
Oh my God.
We always talk about some dumb shit.
We don't have time to be soft on how we explain this. We don't have time at all. You got too many people dying. We got too many illegal wars. The economy is about to collapse. We don't have time to be nice, so we have to call these motherfuckers out, okay? Washington, D.C. is filled with pedophiles and psychopaths. And the president, Congress, they're all traitors. Fuck them. Bully them. Demand answers. Question them every time because they hate you guys. They don't give a shit about you. And they're not going to do anything until we scare them. So let's vote. Let's call our senators and congressmen. That's what I say.
Vote them all out. Like, it's not that difficult of a concept. Like in the next 4 years, almost everyone in Washington is up for re-election. Just vote them out.
I would impeach them. We were talking about impeaching Trump. We should have impeached Congress because those motherfuckers are dirty. And they have much more power than the president ever will.
Yes, but unfortunately, impeachment isn't a thing that works, as we just saw happen. Like, impeaching Congress would be so much harder.
Dude, the Democrats, they was partisan. That's why the Democrats screwed us. But they knew they weren't going to get shit. And they also were part of all the things that were going on. Like, they were also getting funded by the Saudis. So that's why they didn't say anything about the Yemen genocide or any of these wars that we're in. They went for stupid shit. So I think it was just all of political gain and just entertainment to make us believe we actually have an option. I believe every single person was in on that impeachment, including Donald Trump. I think they all knew what the results were going to be. And I think that's scary.
Everyone in the country knew what the results were going to be. If you know how to count, past 50, if you know how to count to 51, and you can look up a list of the Republican senators and count to 51 and realize that there's more than 51 Republican senators, you fucking knew how that was gonna go from day goddamn one. And when AOC bailed in like the first 30 seconds of the impeachment, like, you knew that it was just going to be a clusterfuck from the start to finish, and it was the dumbest thing that's ever happened. happened.
It
So,
was the dumbest
like as
fucking
much as
ever.
everyone deserves to be impeached, like just vote him out. It's easier.
I agree, man. And honestly, we're always going to have disgusting politicians as long as the American people stay ignorant. Their ignorance is what fueled all of this power for the cronies and for the people who profit off of our pain and our misery. So, but I got to head out of here. It was really nice talking to you again, man. Seriously. You
You as
always
well. Thank you
entertain.
so much for coming back on the show.
No,
You want to just give a quick like how people can find you on social media and whatnot?
okay. I have a page on Facebook, Nathaniel Cole. My cover photo is me in like a pink dress shirt. It's gonna be hard for you to find me on YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel, Nathaniel Cole, but there's a lot of Nathaniel Coles on there. But you guys check me out. Maybe I could put a link up or something later on. But yeah,
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll be back with another episode of the Fight for Liberty show.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to click the like and subscribe buttons below. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Fight for Liberty, and support the channel at patreon.com/fightforliberty. And as always, keep up the fight.